think the obvious question then, Ruth, is that 20 years on,
Yes, I know.
you can categorically say you didn't kill your son.
Yes. I've always said that.
The evidence we have clearly shows the medical evidence, if it had been read correctly, the new techniques, forensic techniques that are available today would be used today to categorically prove roughly when Ricky was murdered, and that would be on Tuesday. The police told us last year that Nat Carey, the pathologist, was not interested in looking at the files again.
You say he was definitely murdered on Tuesday?
From the evidence.
Why did you hurt your children?
I didn't hurt my children.
We're going to come back
Not
to
into respect of that, and at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but this is about the murder of my son, not the neglect. And neglect will deal with it at a later date. Thank you.
But Ruth, during the trial you admitted what the judge later called some of the worst child cruelty you've ever seen.
I had no choice but to plead guilty, because the prosecution turned around and said, at the end of the day, you either get found guilty without the neglect or get found guilty with neglect on the murder. I had no choice. At the end of the day, right, and let me speak please, at the end of the day, my son, in his autopsy report, had no injuries at all, past or present. No fag burns, no torture, no hanging him off the bridge or anything.
But I don't understand why you pleaded guilty.
I just turned and told you I had no choice.
No, that isn't true, is it?
Yes, it is true.
Nobody forced you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Guilty.
No, I'm not guilty.
How did they do that?
I've spoken to your daughter Michelle, and she says she can clearly recall getting abused.
Yeah,
So
really.
regardless of
What,
what
at
you
3 years
pleaded,
old?
what would your message be?
What you mean, what, at 3 years
What
old?
would your message be?
I never abused any of my children.
What would your message be?
I never abused my children.
We just,
Anything you'd like to say to
Wasn't Ricky
Michelle?
on the at-risk register though?
can I just say, we're here for Ricky's murder, we're not here for neglect and cruelty.
Surely
But it's
the two are-
completely-
if you
surely
just
the
hang
two
on a
are
minute,
related.
and we're here
The
to
two
ask
are
the question.
related.
If you just hang on a minute. The evidence I've got here, this is half of one box. We have 7 boxes of trial papers. There are 4 more boxes of the same size which deal with neglect and cruelty. In 1997, a government grid report said social services had no files. We've got 4 boxes. We've got evidence. The evidence I've found regarding the murder points 95% to 2 people murdering Ricky, possibly a third. The evidence is there. The police neglected it. We're interested in showing you the evidence we've got to prove how the police worked 20 years ago. The neglect and cruelty, the people that made statements against Rue in the trial side against the murder of her son, and we can prove they lied, they perjured themselves, they were never called into court to give evidence either on the murder side or the neglect and cruelty side, that they made statements on the neglect and cruelty. If any one of them people had been called into court, they would have been prosecuted for perjury. None of them reporting.
But they would have been called into court if Ruth had pleaded not guilty.
Ruth's solicitor refused to call him in.
But no witnesses are called if someone has admitted charges.
He said he wouldn't call him in. Ruth's solicitor told me 2 years ago, Ruth, leave this alone. Don't go. It's water under the bridge. Remember double jeopardy.
Do you accept any responsibility for Ricky's death?
I don't.
In regards to
Excuse me, what did you say, please?
In regards to the lifestyle.
The lifestyle, I could have done better. I shouldn't have been on drugs at the time.
It was well known that at the time, Ruth padlocked all the bedroom doors and locked her children in the bedrooms. That was well publicised. The press thoroughly publicised that. It was absolutely fantastic.
But your own children do.
But when you come to have a look at the official police photographs, you'll see there are no padlocks on any of the children's doors. There is only one padlock, and it's a little latch, and that's quite high up on Ruth's bedroom door. There's no signs of any padlocks ever
So are
being
you
fitted.
claiming you've never abused your children, Ruth?
Yes, I am. Not in the way of the public say.
At
Why
what
do your
stage,
children
what
say
stage
you do?
Ruth, was Ricky put on the at-risk register?
What do you mean, what stage?
When?
It was put at the risk register because he fell off the bunk bed and his eye was bruised.
Right. Why do your
That had
children?
nothing to do with me at all.
Why do your children say they were?
I don't care what my children say at the end of the day because they have been brainwashed.
Do you think you emotionally neglected your children?
Probably have. But I didn't beat them, I didn't starve them, I didn't burn them, torture any of them.
Is anybody interested here about the
If
mess
they're
up
not
the
on
police
about
have
the
made
murder,
about
that's
the murder?
fine.
What-
That's what we're here for, is the murder of Ricky Neave.
What have the police said to you about the evidence you presented?
We had a meeting with Detective Superintendent Forward. It lasted just over 2 hours, and we were asked not to actually say anything that was said in that meeting, which is fair enough, we'll hold to that. I've got plenty of other evidence I can talk about. We were told last year by DCI running that he'd looked at all the evidence, and in particular a neighbour's statement, he said there's nothing wrong with that. So on the 1st of December she can say, I stayed in all day, I didn't leave my house and I was in all night. 24 hours later she can say to the police, well actually I went up to hospital and I went with somebody else up to hospital. This somebody else says he stayed in the house because he'd had a gram of cocaine in her house in front of her children.
You're appealing for witnesses on the estate to come
Yes,
forward.
we are.
There's a lot of people on the estate.
A lot of people on that estate know what happened to Ricky
Well,
that
there's a lot of
night.
people on that estate who still believe he did it. Is that
I don't care.
perception
I
going to make it more
really don't
difficult?
care.
Is that perception going to make it more difficult for witnesses to come forward?
Probably. If people want to believe all them lies, which they have for 20 years, because due to the police lying to people, that's fine.
How many of the police have been lying to people? Is this a large-scale cover-up?
Yes, this is a large scale
I think all
cover-up.
7 of the main
How
bosses.
high does it go within Cambridgeshire Police?
Well, put it this way, it goes to the point where they've been planting evidence on me that wasn't actually mine.
And that's police photographs.
And that's police
And
photographs that
police
proves
statements.
it, and police
that
statements.
prove evidence appeared in Ruth's house between 2 points in time.
So you're saying there is a large, wide-scale, high-level cover-up
Yes, it is.
within Cambridgeshire Police?
Yes, it is. And that's what we're fighting for. For the police to be honest with everybody.
Why would they cover anything up?
Why would they offer a drug dealer anonymity?
I didn't ask the question, why would they cover it up? What?
Because they didn't know how to do the murder investigation. They totally ballsed it up from start to
Maybe
finish.
if they didn't know how to do it, that you might have been convicted of certain
Oh, I
crimes.
didn't do it.
No, that's totally
I
impossible.
thought it totally impossible.
It all hinges on PC McNeil's walk through them woods at 4 to 8 on the Monday evening. And I couldn't understand why the jury called him back in to ask him if he'd got a torch. Well, the torch he had was police issue. It was a dragon torch. I think it was £1,500, £15,000 or what. I did
Just
check
because he
it.
searched them within the
I
forest.
was in the house all
He
day
searched the
and all
woodland.
night.
And
I didn't
the
find
police-
I didn't find the body.
The police ridiculed him.
Yeah,
I'd
that's it.
seen the official scenes of crime photographs of Ricky laying there. And nobody could have walked down that pathway and not stumbled over him. He wasn't missed because he wasn't there. And every time someone called round Ruth, all through the night, unannounced, unexpected, Ruth was always in that house. But nobody seems to be interested that
Well, you said the police didn't do the job properly, but maybe the police should have searched the house properly.
Why didn't they search the house?
They
Because
did
nobody
several
stopped
times,
them.
They did several times. but
Nobody stopped them.
Maybe they should have done it better.
Could have done better. Why didn't they?
Would they found anything if they had?
No.
why didn't the police take notice of the post-mortem report that said Ricky was missing a tooth? The police never asked a single witness in any statement, and have never, in everything I've read, have never said, did you see Ricky without a tooth? The police said at the time, these workmen see Ricky go to his house. I've got his statement. He didn't say that. He describes the lad he sees as wearing a school uniform, which was a grey jumper, a school tie, and a grey blazer. Ricky doesn't wear any of them. And he says he see Ricky walk round a corner, walk to the house. And in the papers, it was portrayed that these builders had seen Ricky upset and walking into his house.
Wasn't that the school uniform?
No, his school uniform was grey trousers, white shirt, red jumper. The red jumper, which the police found, now don't have. They have mysteriously lost it.
I'm still struggling to understand why you think the police did this. When the police investigate serious crimes, they lock up criminals. Why in this case are you saying in effect that they framed you?
Yeah, they did.
Why?
Basically, let's just take the neighbour's statement. She gives two totally conflicting statements within a 24-hour period. If you read these statements, you would think they are two different people. She lies, she's lying definitely in one of the statements because she's contradicting the statements. In the second statement, she even lies in that statement about a lie she's already told in that statement. I've seen the official police timeline that the police produced 20 years ago. This woman goes to the hospital, comes home, goes to bingo, comes home. That's the police's statement. That's her timeline. Well, where's the timeline where she said before that she'd stayed in all day? Did the police ever check the bingo hall to see if she went to bingo? There's no evidence. I can't find any police statements.
But this still doesn't address why you think the police framed Ruth.
Because Ruth was the easiest option.
Are you saying that's what Cambridgeshire police do?
No, I'm
Yes,
saying that's
that's
what
what
they
they
done then.
You've just given different answers, Ruth. Do you think that's what they do?
I just think that if they don't know how to do the job properly or they can't be asked, the easiest option is to stitch somebody up, and that's what they do.
That's a very, very,
Yeah,
very
to stitch
serious
somebody
allegation.
up.
Stitch
I don't
somebody
care if
up.
it's a serious accusation or not. I got stitched up, and that is final.
You're not stitched up and you're somebody that has never abused their children, according
No,
to
not in the way that the public have heard about it, no.
I'll ask you a
In
question.
which way did you abuse your children?
Why did the police cover up two sexual assaults on young children by a gang on that estate within 6 months before Ricky was murdered? They covered them up. There was
You mean
John
information
Bell.
was never released
That
to the
wasn't my
media?
question. My question was, why would anybody else call Ricky?
It could have been one of the members in that gang, or two. I've read the second statement, which has never been in a newspaper, which there is no
He wasn't
documentation of this
sexually
assault. And there's two names in there, which also appear further on.
He wasn't sexually assaulted.
He could have been stripped for sexual gratification, quite
There was
easily.
no evidence of sexual assault, was there?
There's no evidence that I turned around and killed him either.
The police missed forensic evidence there at the first place. They missed the two. One of his shirt buttons is missing. They found one. That was by his body. They haven't found the other one. So where's the other two? Where is his red jumper? The police don't even have that, as far as we know. We've asked them. They don't.
So you're saying basically you did never abuse Ricky or any of the children?
Not in the way that the whole media
what way?
realise I have.
In what way?
I have turned round.
That he was on the at-risk register? for
Yes,
no-
it was. Yes, he
no
was. It was at
reason
the
at
risk
all.
register because he fell off the bunk bed
Yeah.
and he had a black
So
eye.
so for no good reason at all, he was on the at-risk register. So
I just turned around and said to you, he got a black eye falling off the bunk bed, and while I was pregnant, the optics had come round and turned and said, oh, actually, they turned around and said they've understood because the bunk bed, he fell from, what, the bottom bunk, and
These things are quite crucial, aren't they? Because it suggests that the only person that Ricky was in danger from was you.
no, I'm afraid not.
How do you know Ricky was on the at-risk register? Social services have got no files.
Well,
Tell me how you know Ricky was on. How do you know any of them children are on the at-risk register?
there's Hansard statements, there's Cambridgeshire County Council statements, there's loads of stuff that says he was on the at-risk register.
Cambridgeshire County
So-
Cambridgeshire County Council say they've got no
Ruth
files.
hasn't said he wasn't on the at-risk register. She said he was put on the at-risk register.
Because he had a black eye and fell off the bunk bed.
So he was on the at-risk register, wasn't he?
Yeah?
Falling off the ground.
And that to do with Ricky's murder is.
No,
Well, the
it's
point I'm
nothing to do
making
with
is,
stuff.
the point I'm making is that the person he was in danger from.
No, he wasn't.
No.
No, he wasn't.
It's quite difficult to get a black eye from falling out of bed.
Is that really? Well, he wasn't there.
Ruth, I'm going back to the police. I mean, you're looking to the police, Cambridgeshire Police, to reinvestigate
Yes,
this.
I am.
And yes, I think it is apparent to all of us in this room that you hold them in utter contempt.
Yes, I do.
So,
Not Mr. Ford. We were treated with contempt last year by DCI Planning and DC1. Absolute contempt. At the time, we didn't have any of these files. We told them what we thought. We told them what we were thinking. We said, Ruth had been told, Dean Neve was on that estate that night. But apparently he wasn't 20 years ago. They come back to us and say, oh yeah, he was on the estate, but he's alibied out. He's alibied out because his bigamous wife lies in her first statement by saying Dean Neve was actually in his house, and then lies again in her second statement to say Dean Neve actually came back at about 10 to 10, Monday night. So Dean Neve's only alibi is his lying bigamous wife. But did the police question him anything? No, what were you doing in Peterborough then on the Welling estate then? Well, I was nicking a car, and I'm not going to tell you who I was nicking it with. And I'm not going to tell you anybody I was with. And Dean Neve, while he's in Peterborough prison, sees a Detective Wiley. And he says to Detective Wiley, he's brought into the security area of Bedford Prison. And there is a parcel on the table, full of drugs. Dean Neve identifies that envelope and the writing as Ruth's writing. He makes a police statement. Ruth finds out 20 years later. So surely if Ruth was sending in controlled drugs into a secure prison, Ruth would have been prosecuted if they had the evidence. How does a book appear in Ruth's house after the police have removed all the books? How does it appear? We've got the police evidence.
Somebody puts a book there, but I fail to see what that really has to do with Ricky's murder.
Well, they
didn't investigate the
sensationalise.
witness statements. They never cross-referenced any statements at all.
There may be failings in the police investigation, but
But
do
what?
failings necessarily amount to conspiracy?
Yes,
So yes, it
because
is.
if they failed, they went for the simplest option. I'm 95% I know two of the names of the people that murdered Ricky by looking at pure evidence.
To be clear, your theory that you say you have evidence of
Yep.
is these two people were responsible for sexual assault elsewhere in the state, and that was their motivation.
Then their names are tied into it.
And their motivation was sexual assault. Well, I'm asking.
The one we know of, John Bell, seemed to be, it was stopped before it got too far. The second one I've got, why that statement was in with these files, I've got no idea until I started reading it, is a very graphic, and I'm not even prepared to read it because it is very, very graphic about a group of teenagers sexually abusing and attacking, and this lad is between 6 and 9 years old.
And what evidence?
These are within 6 months of Ricky being murdered.
And what evidence do you have to suggest that he was a target of sexual abuse?
Because of names that are appearing in these two statements.
But there's no evidence he was sexually abused. Do you accept that?
Sexual gratification.
Well, sorry, that's just two words. Is there any evidence of sexual abuse?
There is no evidence on the post-mortem of sexual abuse. Or sexual assault, should I say, not abuse. Sexual assault.
Well, there's no evidence of sexual abuse either then, if you're going to split hairs like that, is there? There's no evidence that he was sexually abused, assaulted or anything.
No.
So if they had targeted sexual
So
abuse,
why
and
was
didn't
he
succeed,
naked then?
Well, you
Pardon me?
So you tell us perhaps, I mean, you might
Tell you what.
have a better idea why he was
Why
naked.
would I have a better idea?
Well,
No, excuse me, why have I got a better idea?
do you have a
I don't
better
go around stripping my kids, do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So why are you saying that? Why are you saying
I
that?
just wondered if
I don't know, I'm asking you.
I just-
So don't answer me. No, I've had enough of
the two
this.
thieves-
I've really had enough of
if they
this.
had targeted
This is
sexual
all about
abuse,
neglect.
if they had targeted sexual abuse, are we saying that they didn't succeed in sexually abusing him? Because there's no evidence for that.
Could quite likely have just paints.
It was also said at the time he was found kind of spread eagle.
He wasn't.
And,
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
Is that not true?
If you read the reports,
Oh,
if you
dear.
read the post-mortem, Nat Carey says Ricky was found in a star shape. That's how he
And
starts.
they link that with kind of books and things. Which
But
kind
then
of
Nat Carey,
was
being an
like,
intelligent person, as I
Yeah,
suppose
but
most
which
of you
one?
are, you would say, well, it's actually like the Leonardo da Vinci drawing. I've seen the pictures. You haven't had privilege of them. I have. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't resemble a Leonardo da Vinci picture. The prosecution in court said his hands were deliberately placed, even one of his thumbs was deliberately placed. They're not. They're not. His legs are not outstretched. They're both not outstretched. One of them is angled at the knee. He's in a star shape. The Leonardo da Vinci thing, some police officer just dreamed that one up.
Have you given 2 names to the police?
Yes.
You mentioned, yeah. what
And
police?
also a full timeline
Right.
which
What-
shows that these two have no alibis from 10:15 until 9 o'clock.